Morning everybody, just here at Marjon University in Plymouth for my long-awaited lactate threshold testing. So as I said in one of the other videos, it was due to be like after 2 weeks of my plan, but unfortunately they had an incident up here where their water mains were turned off for a day, which was 2 weeks ago, so I've had to wait a further 2 weeks to get my slot booked in. So today's the day. Hopefully I'll be able to take the cameras into the center. They said that's okay, so I'll capture the video of me on the machine having my lactate threshold testing done. So if you want to join me, stay watching. So this is all new to me, this testing. Reading up on it, I think we've got about 8 3-minute sessions where the blood's taken every 3 minutes, and then we'll go through the results after that. The session after this one will be the VO2 max session, where you wear the mask and they work out how much oxygen you can deal with. Anyway, I'll talk more as I go through the session. This is a centre and a half. I used to work at Falmouth University down at Penryn, and our sports centre wasn't as good as this. Quite a complicated procedure, isn't it?
Kind of varies based on a little bit more. If people bleed well. Yeah. It's rather easy. We look like professionals.
Hit my nose, I'll bleed.
If not, yeah, it can take a little.
There we go.
Yeah,
right to the end, yeah?
Yeah.
Perfect. Do you want to give him a tissue? Just to hold on to. Perfect.
And then just hold it vertical. This whole thing, that whole thing, yeah?
Yeah.
And then just release it. Yeah.
Good, well done.
Yeah. And then does this go in the...
no, that stays, that's fine.
So that's fine.
And then if you take that and just sort of twist it around.
So 12 to 15 times invert it.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So that gives you the base.
That'd be a baseline lactate.
Like, resting lactate values. Normally we ask them, people when they come in, to not do any exercise, because if the lactate levels are elevated, it can kind of compromise the actual results we're looking for. Yeah, well, I think Meg said taper, so I tapered for 3 days, which was... Yeah, so you should be all good.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
And I can hand in...
Lovely, all good, mate.
185. Yeah, that's what I thought. But not 0.5, that's bonus.
Yeah, that's all nice, isn't it? Don't hold on to anything, just, arms crossed, whatever you feel like. 83.9. Lovely, cool. Nice, you can stand up, mate. Good. So get started with the warm-up?
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
Nice, mate. Yeah, so if you set the bike up to however you like.
It's a skill in itself, isn't it, Clubman?
Yeah.
Got it?
There you go. Cool. How does that bike, how's the height feel?
Yeah, it needs to come up.
Up? Sorry, I'll get it. How does that feel?
Yeah.
That good?
A little bit higher.
A little bit higher? Try that. A bit more?
No, maybe.
Is that alright?
A bit lower.
A little bit lower. That's alright. Try that. So we can adjust again if you need. Got to be comfortable because it's your test.
We'll take it 1 centimetre lower.
1 centimetre lower. Straight down. Perfect.
Yeah. Am I going to be taking care of the resistance?
Yeah.
Are we aiming to keep between 95 and 105?
90 something, yeah. Alright, so obviously average wattage, this is the one you'll be looking after, okay? So for the moment, if you get that to around 100, that would be great. Alright, fantastic. And just keep that for 5 minutes, just so it's warm up.
Starting power is 150.
Yeah, about 100, right?
Starting power is 150.
Yeah.
Then up by 25.
Yeah, that one up there, you don't need to worry about that, we'll worry about that one, but you just worry about that one, and then we'll up the resistance as and how we need it. So yeah, you don't worry about that number, and then we'll worry about giving you a 90 to 105 per hour. How we doing, mate? That is on, yeah.
Three minutes.
3 minutes stages.
We go 150.
Doing the ball scale.
Yep. 30 seconds before each stage, make sure you get RPE. Alright.
I'll say yeah, so if you want to do RPE and control the resistance, and then I can do the blood sims.
So yeah, once we get the mask on, we'll get started in values. If you need to stretch off or anything after the warm-up, feel free. After the warm-up, Brad will be getting a little lactate sample before we start the test, just to obviously, take into account any lactate in there accumulated during that warm-up. And then yeah, we'll set the bike 3-minute stages with 1-minute intervals. George will be grabbing RPE off you at the end of each stage. George, at the end of each stage, if you're happy to chuck a marker in on the computer, that'd be great.
I'll twist it
You
around.
do bloods.
So
You're not seeing this. No, you're not seeing it. Just because we don't want you seeing certain values that maybe you're aiming for. But yeah, George, if you come over a minute, just at the end of each stage, just hit set marker.
So will it be 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 7 minutes? Kind of
Just every 3-minute stage. So when it gets towards the end of the 3 minutes, hit set marker. You'll have a minute to take blood, then another 3-minute stage, and at the end of that 3-minute stage, before the blood sample, hit set marker. Because I need to know the end of the stage, because then I take a 1-minute average of the previous, of the last 1 minute of that 3-minute stage.
So am I pressing a marker when the rest starts with the blood sample?
Yes.
Yeah, you can if you want to, but I'm more need the end of each one. Yeah, it's only the end of the stage.
So it'll be like 3 minutes, 7 minutes.
Yeah. But obviously, the bike does what the camera down for you anyway. How far into that are we now?
5 minutes.
5 minutes, perfect. You can stop now, mate. Perfect. And then basically hand Brad your hand like that. Hand Brad your hand.
That's,
Yeah. And he'll take a blood sample. That's basically what's going to happen at the end of each stage. Just sit back like that, give him your hand, and he'll take a blood sample. All right.
Stop one thing.
Yeah, stop and there's a couple of methods. We can do it where you
This
can
will
carry
probably
on.
sting because you've got to do so many finger samples. So
Yeah,
if
we
it's
can
on-
do it with we can do a lactate threshold test without the 1 minute interval, but it does make blood taking a lot easier. But as long as it's standardised throughout, should be okay. Good, bleeding well now. Good job, well done. Cool. And then at the end, basically, when Brad's taking your blood, he'll be giving you a tissue to hold on to.
Yeah.
Just hold on to that tissue throughout. Just prevents you from bleeding on the floor or anything like that. Lovely like that. Perfect. Cool. Plugged in. Lovely. Looking the part now, so I'll get your GoPro in a minute. Perfect. Right. Lovely. Let's get this set up.
Just drop that when you.
Just keep hold of it, and then at the end of the stage, Brad will take that one from you,
Yeah.
take your blood sample, and give you a new one for the next 3 minutes. Yeah.
So yeah, you're basically just holding tissues throughout the whole thing, just to avoid.
Holding tissues and cycling.
Yeah. So that's all you.
So can we get 3 minutes or 5?
3 minutes, please.
How would you say you're feeling now?
Not when you take a trip down and cut your leg, but yeah. Oh, it does? Really?
Not many people know like, but they are there.
Oh, yeah. Never really suffered with it, I feel bad for people that do.
I feel bad.
Yeah, I'd hate it.
Yeah, I don't hate it.
Because I can imagine it's quite irritating and annoying.
It's the eyes that are the worst thing for me. I used to have it really bad, I kind of mellowed out a little bit, but like this morning it was horrible.
It's been holding this year. I might do something like that.
Yeah.
And probably it's around 2 minutes or 2 minutes.
Yeah.
I think it's really cool to do.
Yes, we're on 2 minutes. It's something I can do. Halfway through the stage now, gents. Halfway through the stage. Doing really, really well, mate.
Yes. Right now.
Brad, so what we've got here, we've got resting.
Resting,
Yep.
post,
Warm
warm
up.
up.
Cool. Resting, post warm up.
Yep. Nice.
And then you've got 1 and 2.
That's one. How would you say you're feeling now? That's great. Doing good, mate. Really, really well. Smashing it so far.
Let's double testing now. Oh, that's perfect. 10 seconds left. Make sure you check that marker. So you've got the marker. No. Good job. I'd go again, just prick anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
Alright, just
Hang on,
make
too
sure
long.
we get a good sample. Alright.
Still bleeding from the one I did too, off the second stage.
That's why we have the tissue.
Don't forget it one.
I haven't pricked it yet.
Come on, Brad. You're alright.
That's poor from me.
These master students, innit?
Oh, I think
Where did them from?
I think they know everything, don't they?
Good. It's alright. Still got 30 seconds yet. Keep it horizontal, because I think you might just got that. Good. Up there, Brad?
Just getting a good enough block. It's bleeding. Oh no, I don't know.
Got it?
It was just going down his nail.
Ah, right. Too close to the nail.
Yeah.
Okay,
There
right.
you go, onto that.
Let's go. Go over that. Go, go, go. Yeah, 225, but your average right now is really low, so it's going to take a bit. Obviously, start take that into account as the average. So yeah, 225 this week. Good. This will be, I think, last stage, alright?
Right, so you think now?
Come on, Nathan. Last 30 seconds. Doing really well. Doing good. Come on, Nathan. 20 seconds. Keep going.
What's up?
And relax.
Alrighty then. Let's take out.
Should I press the end test button? Stop test.
Brad, take a blood sample. No, well, yeah, you can stop now if you want. If you put that marker in for me.
Quickly
Alright,
grab
so
his
just put that
blood
marker
sample.
in and hit the stop button. That's fine. Good job, mate. Well done. We'll get you cycling out in a second. Good job, mate.
Wow.
Good job. Good job. Good.
On that.
On top. Cool, cycle up, mate. Keep moving. Keep moving. Yeah, keep cycling. Don't worry. Yeah, you don't want to step up just yet. Yeah, go on. Keep moving. All right. It's nothing worse than just stopping. Perfect. Brad, if you move the other one out of stat into the next one, then put that one into stat. That'd be great.
I'm very impressed you did the 275. That's really good.
I think I could have gone. I'm very happy to have been on for 3 minutes.
Good job.
Lined up with your lactate.
Yeah, good job, Nathan. Really good, really good, really good.
I think we could have got another stage out of you, I reckon, but obviously
Oh,
that'd,
so I think
that'd be tapering into VO2 max testing then. So
I
yeah.
think I could have gone a minute and a half at 300.
Yeah, you look pretty
You
steady.
seem pretty steady. I
Well, that's the difference, you know. I think I'm more endurance based
Yeah.
than sprint.
Yeah.
And trying to, well, it means you go and do, you know, 100k.
275 looked pretty comfortable. Like, obviously RP
from
was
an endurance
18, yeah.
He's surprised how, for endurance athletes, for the running cycling, like, he's surprised how long they can sustain at that speed, just because they've got, you know, to clear the lactate. You know? But yeah, first half, 3/4 that, yeah, you look like,
Yeah, I think those were very easy for the first.
Yeah, the first four.
Yeah.
I think he definitely had at least a couple of minutes in that next stage.
the thing with the RP, it's normally based on heart rate.
Yeah.
To an extent. Like, normally the first, he kind of wraps up. Like, one of the stages it'll go, shoot up by like.
That's the scores on the doors, is it?
Yeah, that's the scores on the doors. So yeah, we'll obviously analyse that, and then I'll be able to send you your data.
So this is the watts,
Yep.
and that's the lactate.
Blood lactate, yeah.
Yeah,
So
okay.
if I just, that's your blood lactate there. So yeah, obviously that's your stages. So you got rest, post warm up, stages 1 to 5 there, and then we've got your so that's post warm up there.
It got up to 9.86 on the last one if you want to.
Yeah,
Right.
but yeah, well that's the lactate that.
So that's when you don't want it to get to 9.06.
9.86.
You don't want it to get to that level.
No, well, yeah. So we obviously didn't go into anything maximal at the end. So that last stage,
Okay.
we obviously stopped it there because obviously it looks like you could have probably done another stage, but obviously we were just doing a lactate threshold test today.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So it peaks off or gets pointless measuring at a certain.
Oh yeah. So that's the data we need. We've got 5 stages, so that's perfect. So that's a minimum that we would need for analysing the lactate. And obviously once we've put that into what we use is called XPhysLab. So it's a software that's online that you can use. And then we'll look at heart rate alongside the lactate. Once we've obviously established where your training zones are, and then we can obviously give you the report so that you'll have your training zone splits. Also, so you'll have LT1, LT2, and then we'll have splits in between.
Okay. Excellent.
Yeah, it's and then hopefully what we'll see. So what we tend to see is if I get a pen. So this is just obviously a quick drawing. So where we've got lactate, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 millimole, and then obviously as you're going up in your wattage, so 150, 175, 200, etc. When we look at your lactate, obviously we'll get a curve of sorts, and what we'd want to see is that next time you come in, we would want to see that curve shift and basically that lactate accumulate later, if that makes sense. So then obviously when you've got your training zones, which we'll establish once we've analysed it, let's say you've got LT1 here and then LT2 here, then obviously if the lactate accumulates at a later stage, these zones shift.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it doesn't start. LT1 doesn't start there anymore.
It would start further on.
Yeah.
And then that means that obviously your training zones. Obviously. So.
And I think that may correlate because I think this bit here for me is bad. As I was saying, I think because I find some of this, up to kind of here quite easy, and I can just pedal for an hour and no problem at 200 watts. Yeah. Get over that, and
as soon as you move up, then okay, interesting. Yeah, we'll see. We'll obviously see what those zones come out at, and hopefully that'll better inform your training.
Excellent, thank you.
Lovely.
So that's it. That's the testing completed now. It'll take about 5 days, they say, to give me a full report, so I'll film a little bit more when that comes through. So basically, we agreed on a starting FTP of 150, and then every 3 minutes they would take the blood test, so they would prick the finger. You may see that in some of the the footage, and in that 1 minute period you stop pedaling. They put a marker in the system to say they're doing that, but you have to pedal at an average watts. So the first stage was 150, then 175, 200, 225, 250, 275, and then 300, which they said was where they think that the lactate would peak out. So this time, obviously, I've got to go back in a few months' time, because they will come up with the dedicated training zones, so they'll be good to compare to the Garmin standard training zones, which I feel are different for me at that 150 to say 175, 200 watt range. I feel I can do a lot more there, whereas they're saying that I'm in zone 4, zone 5, so somehow we've got to stretch those zones out in those lower zones. So hopefully that'll all come out in the report anyway, which I'll put on the screen in a bit anyway. So yeah, so 3 minutes at each stage, blood test. Obviously you can't run out of fingers, because they prick each finger and then they come around and do a different position on a different finger, and etc, 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 until you get to that 275, 300 watt limit, and then it's the stop of the session, and a 5 minute cool down, warm down to finish off. So that's where we are. So big shout out to everybody, Brad, who was doing all of the finger pricking, and the team here at Marjon. Thank you very much, and hopefully I will see you again in a couple of months after I get the report and the results, and then have a time to actually implement some of the recommendations that you guys have put out. So once again, thank you very much. Hi, and welcome back. As I said earlier, I was waiting on the results of the lactate threshold testing, so those landed this week. So a big shout out to Plymouth Marjon University and the team there at their sports science labs that did all the testing. You know, a couple of students helped, and then I was waiting for them to kind of take that data, put it through their tool set, and provide me with that information. So that information I assumed would come in a certain format. As I said, I was trying to improve my training zones, but it wasn't as easy as I expected it to be. So I've taken the time to kind of go through this week and look at my results, do a bit of my own research, and then kind of present that back here to you guys to have a look at as well. So my naivety was that we were going to get a full kind of training zone from that data set, but lactate thresholds are only in 2 zones, LT1 and LT2. So interestingly, so those are, you know, the LT1 comes in at a point where you can deal with the lactate very easily. There's no stress to the body, and that is called the aerobic threshold, LT1. Now I'll come back to my zones, because as I probably referenced earlier, that I always felt that my power zones, zone 1, zone 2 and part of zone 3, were very low, and I felt that they were very easy. So my results kind of mimic that, and we'll see that a bit later on. So we've got LT1, and then you go into the area between LT1 and LT2 where your lactate gradually builds up, and then you hit LT2, which, you know, in reality, you know, should kind of correlate back to FTP, your functional threshold point as well. And interestingly, mine does do that. It is slightly different, but then that kind of responds back to my concern that my zone 1, zone 2, zone 3 felt rather easy. So after LT2, your lactate builds up and your body has a hard time dealing with it quickly enough. So that's the point where you start feeling the pain in your muscles, and you start to back off. So you've done your effort, and then you've got to slow down so that the body can actually get rid of that lactate or reuse that lactate. So the raw data, and interestingly, you get the 6 kind of zones, six test sessions. Now we would have gone on to session 7 if we were doing VO2 max, but we agreed before that we weren't going to do a VO2 max at the same time, although we'll come back to it because we did record some VO2 max data, or not to the point of max. So the 3 zones, the 3-minute zones, start at the agreed wattage. You then do your 3-minute effort. You then record your RPE, which is the rate of perceived exertion. And I'll just show you that here, because the interesting point is that it starts at 6. Now I would have assumed wrongly, but I would have assumed that it would have started at 1 and gone to say 10, making it a lot easier to kind of report back on how you feel. Because as you can see, there's not a lot of difference here from a perceived exertion. Yes, you can see the maximum heart rate here, but you don't know that while you're doing the test. So they give you this chart and you point at it to say, I feel my activity or my perceived exertion is extremely light. But I don't know how you differentiate between extremely light and light. So, there's 30% of maximum heart rate there between those ones. And that kind of gels with how I felt, my first zones up to zone 3, again, correlation back to my FTP power zones, where those zones were fairly easy, and my LT1 zone, referenced that I felt that I could, get to 200 watts with very light and 50% heart rate. So how do you work that up? Well, I think that becomes part of your second session. You understand this more, and you can then give a far better response to RPE. Because at 6 here, I thought, well, I'm doing must be down there. That's the bottom, and we didn't go on to the 300 watt zone because that was into VO2 max. So we didn't do that. So I think those figures there are slightly, out from an RPE perception. So that'll be interesting to review those at the next set of data points. So going on to the graph to show where this LT1 and LT2 picks up, you can see quite clearly here that up to that LT1, so up to 200 watts, I can deal with it really easily, and my body doesn't feel that much beyond general casual cycling. So to 200 watts, my body can deal with it, but then after that, it starts ramping up significantly. So between 200 and 225, and then 225 to 250, at which point my body says enough is enough. You can't deal with lactate anymore at that point. Therefore, you need to start to back off. So to improve that threshold, so that you can go faster or you can go longer, you need to focus your training around this piece of information here. So above LT2, as I said, the lactate levels show an accelerated increase. So threshold training, you should be looking at exercising at longer and harder intensities around the point of LT2. So around the point of 225 to 250, your training plans should then add in much more of that session work at those levels. obviously followed by sessions where you're running down here because you've got to balance it out. But the more that you do up here, the more you're likely to push your LT2 point out, and it would be good to get that somewhere between 250 and 275. And we'll come back and we'll see that in 3 or 4 months' time and see where that gives us. So all this data was put together via reading this. As I said, it takes quite a long time to kind of digest, because it's all new to me. I've not dealt with any of this. This is all science stuff, and there's a lot of algorithms and stuff, I'm sure, that sit in the background to calculate this. But from looking at this website, you can then generate a far better power zones. So these power zones are recalculated now based on the data that came from the report. And interestingly, that they show that your FTP, which comes back to that, the point that I raised at the beginning, that I'm good to 200 watts in my LT1 zone, are in these zones here. So to get those to calculate better in the systems like Zwift or MyWhoosh, I've had to push my FTP calculation back up. Even though I've done an FTP test and my FTP said around 230, I still felt that those zone 1, 2, 3s were a little bit too easy. So pushing up your FTP in those applications to your threshold of 250 puts up those zones 1, zone 2 and zone 3, and then allows you to challenge your LT2 zone as well. So that, to me, is the biggest win from that training session. So I think that's where we'll end it today. So it's been a great learning session for me. If you've got any questions, pop them in the comment section. Please also take the time to click the thumbs up and subscribe. All that helps me build this channel for the future and allows me to do more of this. So once again, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.